1 minute. Ah, she's coming. The incoming presidency will. So, warm welcome to the last seminar of today in Europahuset. So, this is what we then call Europahuset, House of Europe, which normally you can find in Stockholm. This is organized by the European Commission together with the European Parliament's liaison office, information office. And yes, we are very happy to be here because we think it's very important to, even though Almedalen is very much about domestic and Swedish politics, we tend to forget that EU politics is domestic and Swedish politics. It actually goes hand in hand. So that's why we're very happy to be here and to see, yes, come in, so many people coming in. Some logistics. Where you came in is also the emergency exit, but there's also one on the side there in case anything happens. And this is being sent or live streamed on YouTube. So if you don't want to be seen, you should be there in the back. So I think that was all the logistic stuff. And now I will be happy to introduce the panel that I have with me today. I have two distinguished ambassadors. I have Karolina Ostrynewska, who is ambassador of Poland to Sweden. And I have Kristina Miskowiak-Beckward. It's very interesting that all three of us have kind of Polish names, though. I mean, not you, the three of us. It's just something that came to my mind. Exactly, it's the new troika. And then we have Christian Danielsson, just a normal Swede. Yeah. Now, he's not that normal. He's state secretary to the EU minister and to the prime minister. So, very warm welcome and a big applause to the panel. And well, we are here today, this seminar, to talk a little bit about the EU presidency, because as you know, there is a rotating presidency of 6 months. And with that comes the possibility to also put a bit of your own flavor, the country's own flavor, to the presidency, even though there are, of course, a lot of steps that just continues, because the previous one or even the one before have already started something. So there's a lot of the normal nitty-gritty, but then there might be also opportunities to set your own priorities and to push for certain issues. And there is no lack of issues or challenges that the presidencies will have to handle. We saw it with the Polish presidency, and we will for sure see it also with the Danish presidency. And of course, we're also interested to see or hear how Sweden sees these kind of forthcoming challenges and how Sweden will act in the future, in the near future of the European Union. So I will start off. Well, I will start off by asking Karolina a little bit about the Polish presidency, because the Polish presidency was from the 1st of January until Tuesday, because that's the 31st of July, and it's drawing to an end. And what would you say have been the main highlights and the main achievements that you think the Polish presidency have achieved?
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, hello. It's very nice to be here, still profiting from being the presidency, which, as Annika said, will very soon be over. What we are particularly proud of is the achievements that we were able to push for in the security area. The motto of our presidency was Security Europe. And we feel that we have made security a top priority for the European Union. The other European institutions, European Commission, the European Parliament, now agree that if the EU wants to be a global player and a true ally to NATO, it must be ready and able to defend itself. There are three particular deliverables when it comes to legal acts that we are very proud of. The first of them being SAFE regulation, that is an instrument that enables 150 billion euro investment into the defense area. The European Defence Investment Programme, which we also managed to agree, it's a slightly smaller EU instrument amounting to 1.5 billion euro that is supposed to serve as an intermediary between the short-term needs that the European Union has and the longer-term perspective that is going to come when the new multi-annual financial framework is being presented by the European Commission and then over a few, well, months, if not years, be negotiated in the Council. The second issue I want to briefly mention is the Eastern security. As the Secretary General of NATO put it, we are all on the eastern flank now. And Poland, being the country, the member state with the eastern border, which is the eastern border of the European Union at the same time, is very proud that one of our major investment that we call East Shield, it's a major investment since the Second World War, is being now recognized as a key European project. Thirdly, I want to mention as a deliverable our successful efforts, joint efforts, to continue to support Ukraine. During our presidency, we managed to negotiate in the Council two serious sanction packages, the 16th and the 17th sanction packages that will be hitting key areas of Russian economy such as energy, trade, transport, finance. Imagine that over 300 ships were listed as belonging to so-called shadow fleet. That's a major joint effort of the EU member states. The 18th sanction package is being discussed as we speak, and we are still very hopeful that the Polish presidency will be able to, if not agree, then significantly advance this process and hand it over to the Danish presidency. Enlargement was also high on our agenda. It's a continued effort. There are colleagues here from Western Balkans that we were very proud to open two negotiating clusters, for example, with Albania. That's an important process that we were trying to make sure that that is developing in the speed that member states desire and based on clear conditions: respect for the rule of law, for democracy, alignment with EU foreign policy, and respect of EU core values. Last but not least, I will want to say a few words about competitiveness, which was also our priority. Simplification, deregulation, these are key words nowadays. It's, based on European Commission's submissions, 5 big omnibus packages that are now on the table of the Council. We were able to agree the first omnibus package, which is cutting down on reporting requirements for enterprises in Europe, mainly the small and medium enterprises. It's a continuous effort, and I know that the Danish presidency will also be dealing not only with security, which remains our priority, but also with competitiveness. So I will stop here. Thank you very much once again for the effort that all of the member states have done during the Polish presidency, for their support, for their collaborative spirit. Without our colleagues in the Council, without the engagement of other EU institutions, these deliverables would not be able to sort of exist. Thank you.
Thank you. We applaud the Polish presidency.
I do too. Thank you.
So, Christina, would you agree on these major areas, or are there any specific major areas during the Polish presidency that you want to highlight from a Danish perspective?
I agree absolutely. And if the microphone allows,
Yes.
I will also give you another round of applause for the Polish presidency, because you've done a great job.
Oh, thank you.
you highlighted some of the areas, and it can be almost repetitive when I get to talk about the Danish priorities in a few minutes after this, because they're quite similar. We share the analysis. We're in a trio together, and we just think that you've had a really, really strong and firm hand on the steering wheel, and that means that you've actually delivered quite a lot, as you just resumed. As you just mentioned and summed up just before. Ukraine. It's just so fundamental that it doesn't become normal for us to hear about missile attacks in Kiev. And I've just visited together with my wonderful embassy. We just visited a photo exhibition from Ukraine, and it's just heartbreaking. And it's heartbreaking every time, and it should never become just normal. And we mustn't lose focus on Ukraine. And you've helped us stay focused. Our populations want it, and we will continue to make sure during our presidency also that we make, all of us absolutely do the best, contribute militarily in the civil area, politically, economically, everything we can. And I would just highlight that from your presidency, and also highlighting your focus on our own security, which you also highlighted yourself. So thank you very much for that, and I'll talk more about the Danish priorities later.
Mm. Christian, would you like to comment a bit on the Polish presidency?
No, I think what has been said is correct. You have done it. It's been a very important presidency, and I think this is also the beauty of this European Union. We are standing here representing 3 countries, and every 6 months, one member goes in and takes the responsibility for a large extent of the policy, and suddenly the focus of that country will be not how to deliver its own interests, but how to deliver European interests. And the reason that we are applauding is that you have delivered European interests. I think that is something we should cherish, and it's fairly unique for international cooperation, and it's something in these days when it's tough times we should both be proud of and see to that it continues to be the case the way we do it within Europe. So well done.
Thank you. One issue that really was a curveball that came in from, I don't know, west, because it came from across the Atlantic, was that Trump took office, and we got this trade and tariff chaos, because actually we don't actually know where it's going to land. But that also, of course, landed, it's very much on the Commission's table, yeah, but it's still very much also on the presidency, and it will continue to the Danish, of course. But do you have any reflections on how that kind of affected at the moment when it happened?
Well, as you mentioned, the trade policy in the European Union is an exclusive competence of the EU, which means that it is in the hands of the European Commission that negotiates on behalf of the European Union. We have a Slovak Vice President, a very experienced one, Maroš Šefčovič, which is the one that goes to the US and if you can call it negotiates with the American side. The presidency role is a lot more limited in this respect, but what I think is extremely important, and we at least have been trying to ensure that as a presidency, is to keep the unity of the European Union, to keep the unity among member states, so that nobody is tempted to negotiate and talk to the Americans on their own. And of course, we realize that in the European Union, when one comes up with a common position, well, everybody is equally happy and everybody should be equally unhappy. So it means that some will have to give something up, and we should arrive at a unanimous consensual position. So I think unity is the key here.
It's very important. Christina, you wait.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And And let's say it as it is. I mean, the cooperation between the US and the EU has changed since the new administration took office. It's something we can talk about. It's clear for everybody. But this doesn't mean that that we should seek conflict. No, on the other hand, we have to continue to seek to engage the US in all areas of mutual interest and all common priorities that we have with them. And they still are our most important partner. That goes for Denmark, but it goes for all of the EU. So it's in all of our interests to stick together and to continue to have as close a transatlantic relationship as we can, and just realize that a tariff and trade war really has no winners, and it only weakens us, and it weakens our businesses on both sides of the Atlantic. So we'll just have to keep up finding the areas of mutual interest, work together on those areas, and then, of course, in the back of our minds and in the back offices, be prepared to defend our strategic interests, and also be prepared to take firm and proportional, of course, countermeasures if necessary.
Yeah, and maybe as something, I mean, you mentioned the security files that you managed to go forward with. Maybe also they were possible to go forward with so rapidly because of the changed relationship with US, because there was an uncertainty. And uncertainty means that the EU is more easily united. Maybe.
Sorry.
Yeah, please.
Well, and the US, I mean, the Trump administration has a point. We do have to take care of our own security. We do have to invest more. We do have to get our acts together. The fact that we couldn't do it before now it's a bit shameful, even, I would say it personally. But at least now we are. The alarm clock has sounded many times throughout many years. We kind of pushed the snooze button and took a little nap and prioritized other issues, welfare, other issues. And now finally we understood that the alarm clock is actually trying to get us up. And now we got up. So, yeah.
Just on that point, I think we should not point the US, who has pointed to the need for us to have a defense that is worth the name for quite some time, as being the major reason why we are now in a situation we are ready to put so much investments in this. The reason we do that is that we are today living with a threat which is real, with the Russian aggression towards Ukraine, with the Russia which is aggressive, and with the only way to stand up against Russia and avoid conflict is to have a sufficient deterrence. And I think that is the driving force why we now are moving forward towards investing in the defense as we are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And Christina, in exactly 1 week, the Danish presidency will take over. And can you please then outline the Danish priorities for the next coming 6 months?
No, no, of course I can. Of course, I'm happy to. I'm happy to say that things go hand in hand. And I think we've actually, my colleagues in Brussels and Copenhagen have launched a really nice, really good program for our work. And it has a very upbeat tone. I love it. I actually suggested at home they should say a more sort of resilient and robust Europe. That was my suggestion, and I was hoping I would win. But it still has those words inside the program. But resilience and robustness it sounds a little bit negative as well, because it's kind of talking about attack and weakness in a way. Here it says a strong Europe in a changing world. So a strong Europe. And then it goes through the different areas and priorities, but it does mention two things that are just kind of sums up the whole presidency, I hope. A secure Europe, that's the first page, and a competitive and green Europe. So let me just, if I can explain a little bit on what that is in the Danish view. As you said, we can give a little bit of a flavor to things. Perhaps you will find a touch of a green flavor, a green taste in all of that. Security, I mentioned the support for Ukraine. I mentioned how this will continue to be a key priority. And I also would like to add that security is so many things. It's supporting Ukraine, it's our beefing up our own defense, it's about procurement, it's about, of course, the defense industry, etc. But it's also about other things. It's about migration. We must ensure the stability at the EU's external borders, because irregular migration mustn't undermine Europe's cohesion and security. We also have to strengthen our democratic resilience, make sure that we have a favorable framework for free and trusted media, deliver effective regulation on the tech giants. The tech giants is a major concern as well for security if we don't handle them well. Then we have to make sure that we do our best to enlarge the EU with an ambitious but also merit-based, of course, enlargement agenda, and that we will make the EU geopolitically stronger through such an enlargement. There are the values, the rule of law. That's also part of our security, and a part of why the whole world actually thinks that Europe is a good place to be, and a part of why human beings want to live in Europe, and a part of why why businesses from all over the world want to work in Europe. That it's our rule of law, and we have to continue to make it attractive for people and businesses to be here. That takes me a little bit into what I said was the second big encompassing theory, not theory, but encompassing priority, that Europe has to be both competitive and green at the same time. And I think there is no opposition in those two. Some people have started talking about, is the green issue becoming less attractive to people? Actually, we argue in our program here that we are stronger and more competitive through our green businesses, and there are millions of jobs in the green sector. Of course, Denmark and Sweden have strengths in the green agenda, because we have a lot of solutions within renewable energy and biotech. I'm proud that Denmark has been a green pioneer for decades, and that also means that our countries, but also many other European states, have comparative advantages in the world, and gives us a great starting point for putting the green transition really high on the European agenda. Actually, we are here with a pop-up embassy in Almedalen at the moment, a bilateral pop-up embassy, Danish embassy, where we actually focus on a lot of the competitiveness and green transition areas. But that was a bilateral sort of, je ferme la parenthèse, as they say in France. I close the square bracket, or the brackets here, and go back to the EU agenda. It's important for us to make sure that businesses have, as you said before, Caroline, fewer burdens. Lower energy prices are important. We have to make sure that we expand the EU's network of trade agreements. We have to make sure we have economic partnerships, and then let's look at the capital markets. We are few countries that think that that's a great idea to try to access investments through capital markets and through more private-public partnership. So yes, we have to do all that, and then of course we also have to make sure that we set a fiscally responsible course for the MFF, so the budget, the EU budget in the coming years. That was a few of the issues related to security and to the competitive green Europe that we want. And just thank you so much to Poland, but also thank you very much to the Swedish presidency. When I arrived here as ambassador, I arrived to a Swedish presidency, which was excellent in so many ways, but not least because we really wanted to do the same things. And you managed to actually get competitiveness up on the agenda again. Europe is facing so many crises, has to handle one crisis after the other. But if we don't look at the fundamentals of Europe and why we are so attractive, like our competitiveness, if we don't put it back on the agenda, we will be less attractive and less powerful in the future. And I think Sweden managed very, very well to put it back on the agenda. And people have been keeping it high since, presidency after presidency. So well done for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, applaud for the Danish presidency. What are your expectations for the Danish presidency from a Swedish perspective? What do you want to see achieved?
Extremely high. No, but I think this shows how the continuity of what are the European interests right now. And we are going to be extremely supportive to what you are pointing to. It goes without saying that we are going to discuss security and defense. And it's not about Europe becoming NATO. That's not the issue. But the issue is to see to that member states have the ability to do the necessary investments. And there we're going to land on what has already been established during the Polish presidency, and I'm sure we're going to discuss quite a lot during the Danish, namely how we can get a more efficient procurement, how we can get together on standards, and seeing to that we can deliver the defense of Europe that we have said at the political level should be up to standards by 2030. So I think that's going to be an overarching issue that we will support very, very strongly, together with the issue of Ukraine, and where it's not only about the fact that they need our full support in order to defend themselves, but they also need the economic support in order to be able to survive as a country. And I think we are going to come into a discussion during your presidency on how shall we look into that for the years ahead, 2026, 2027, etc., which will be important. And the third element as it comes to Ukraine is enlargement. We shall have no doubts. I personally is of the opinion that Ukraine belongs to Europe and as a member in the European Union. That is also the sense among member states, and it's not anymore a question of whether, but it is a question of how and how it should be done. And I think there we're also going to have quite a bit of discussion during the presidency. On competitiveness, which needs to be there in order to underpin these investments, both in security, but also the one you mentioned on the whole green transition. On that competitiveness, I think we will work a lot on this deregulation and simplification. And I think your program is, in that respect, very, very good. I think we need also to put quite some efforts into how we're going to handle AI. The Prime Minister went out yesterday and was clear. We shouldn't rush ahead with regulation on AI this time, which is not ready in order to be put into place effectively for the players. So we have said, let's pause that one. Let's come together on what standards that are called for. And then once we have the standards, we move ahead. And I think that's going to be an important issue during the Danish presidency. And of course, we can work together on the capital market. We are, Denmark, Sweden, the Nordic-Baltic, which are more closely working together now than what we have done, I think, historically nearly. We have capital markets which, to a large extent, work differently than in other member states and provide the necessary risk capital that is called for in order to be able to invest in security, in the green transition, in the innovation that is called for. And I think we will need to work together in order to try to send the message out to our colleagues and our partners in Germany, in France, in other countries, that this is a model. And this is a model that can be followed and can also deliver. I think you're absolutely right to point on migration. Migration, I mean, if we do not have control over our external borders, there will be questions about the functioning of the free movement. And as I could also say that I think there will also be certain effects on the politics in individual countries with an environment for populism that will grow. And therefore, to work on migration and see to that we have a migration which is accepted and which shows that we have control is going to be very important. And the instruments are there. Now we are going to work on the implementation during your presidency, and that will be extremely important. All of this within the context of rule of law. And I think the issue of rule of law has become stronger in the EU today than it was maybe 2 years ago. And it's something which underpins who we are, and therefore it's so important that we are continuing to push for it. And finally, enlargement more generally, I think you are going to have a situation where we are moving ahead with the Western Balkan and with Ukraine and with Moldova, so that that process really moves forward and shows that we are ready to deliver when the countries have done what they are called for to do. Also, their own merit has been met. And the autumn can be a determining moment in that process.
Thank you. Rather soon, exact date nobody knows, but in the next coming 2 weeks, the European Commission will publish the proposal for the long-term, the mid-term, multi-annual financial framework, MFF, as you mentioned, Christina. So this will land on your table, even though you will probably not have to finalize it, because that you can pass on to the next one. But it will still be very, very, it will be crucial, because it also comes, of course, with the whole ideas around a new common agriculture policy, cohesion policy. So it's a lot of kind of setting the frames for the coming mandates. And it has been interesting to follow in media that Denmark and Sweden were previously very strong, holding tight to the purses. Now Denmark has said that maybe we will not be so restrictive anymore. Can you say something about this, Christina? What's the thoughts in Denmark on this?
Let me just say that we will do our best to make sure that we have a solid basis for the work to come, and that we will be able to, make sure that the first negotiation box is kind of squared. And yeah, I think that's as much as I can say now, because I don't know what exactly the thoughts have been in terms of being able to move a little, but I think it does have something to do with necessity.
Of course, yeah.
Necessity, strong priorities on security, and it's historic times. We just have to face the fact that these are historic times, and there are things that where we have to move a little bit, even though we are not so happy about it. But we will make sure that we will go through the budget, and we will also look at we have to reform. We have to make sure that the necessary reforms are done, so that we have a responsible budget at the same time. So I don't think that we have fundamentally changed, but I think the world is changing and is making us have to take necessary adjustments of old policies that are still in our hearts.
Absolutely. And since you answer now as the president,
yes,
you also are the honest broker, so you're not.
Yes,
you don't take the position.
Probably that as well.
Christian, what do you think about Sweden? How will Sweden position itself in the new MFF?
Well, we are quite clear on what we think. We are for a modernization of the budget. Modernization in order to see to that taxpayers' money, when they are used in the EU framework, are used for the purpose that we believe is important. Nowadays, clearly, security is going to be important. Clearly, issues relating to competitiveness will be important. So all of that, and when I say competitiveness, research is essential, innovation is essential. There are issues about the whole issue of competence. The Erasmus programs are important. So we would like to see a modernization in that respect. We would like to see also a more, you've mentioned reform, a budget that also helps member states to reform. We have tried that when it comes to the what was called the RRF, as the fund that was established after the COVID crisis, or during the COVID crisis. And that one was linked to reforms in member states. Turned out to be quite successful. Led to labor market reform in Spain. led to pension reforms in Slovenia. If we can get that mechanism in the EU reforms for the future, we believe that is important. Thirdly, we believe in simplification. We need to have today. I mean, I have a background in this environment. I was leading one of the general directorates in the Commission before. We have today, I think, something like 50 different programs with different rules. That is difficult for member states. That is also difficult for sorry. Go. Okay, that is also difficult for those who should have those money. So we would like to have simplification there as well. So these are the issues we see. We don't see a need for more money. We think the money we have today is sufficient, and we believe we should start up from that. Or we should have that as well.
Do you have to leave, Kristina?
In 5-10 minutes. I have to leave.
We're closing in 10 minutes exactly. But if you have to leave before, don't worry.
It has nothing to do with you. It has something to do with a colleague of mine sitting and looking very sternly at me because I have to be somewhere.
I wanted to open up for questions, preferably to Kristina before she leaves, but it could also be to Carolina or to Christian. Yes, please wait. So we'll get a microphone for you. Here in the front. Thank you.
So thank you. My name is Martin Engels. I would like to ask you, I mean, a few years ago there was a lot of discussion around the Fit for 55 and the climate, and today I hardly hear it being mentioned. I also see that when the ETS starts to bite, it will quickly become increasingly expensive to purchase anything with a fossil content, and that will be noticeable in Europeans' pockets. Will you stand by the fuel emission trade system, do you think, or will there be any kind of shivering on the manchette?
Any takers?
Well, I can say that, of course, I've mentioned green transition. That has something to do with climate, so it's not like climate hasn't been in the room. I think the climate is coming in through a little bit too much through the room at the moment in terms of wins. But no, we will ensure that the EU continues to demonstrate leadership. And when it comes to climate action, that's where our heart is as well. And we will go for an ambitious 2040 target. It's important because climate action also supports European competitiveness again.
And I will just chip in, because next week on the 1st of July, if the schedule holds, the proposal for the 2040 target will be presented or proposed by the Commission. And that, I think, will be the first test for the Member States and for the European Parliament if they want to stick to the targets. But please, Carolina.
Well, I would say that the Polish presidency focused more on the energy security than the climate security, and that's a fair point. That was also our political choice, given that still 50% of electricity in Poland is being produced from coal. And you cannot get rid of it in a second, nor even minute, not even in a year. So that was a political choice. We are also very happy that the Danish presidency is taking that discussion with full speed, with Commission submission next week, perhaps a new draft of the European climate law in fall, and of course a submission by the EU to the UNFCCC process. For Poland, what is important is that, and it has been important over the years, that when the EU sets its ambitious targets, it cannot remain blind to what the other partners in the world are doing. Because for us, it is very costly to get rid of coal. We are on this track. This is our objective. We only yesterday discussed the offshore wind farms in Poland, which are constructed massively. So the energy mix is changing as well. But it will take time. And I cannot tell you that we will be standing behind an ambitious EU submission to the global process. I mean, we will be able to support something, but I'm not sure that it will be as ambitious as, for example, Sweden or Denmark would want to see that. But that's the beauty of the European Union. We have to agree among ourselves. And to the European emission trading system, I mean, it is an EU law. It is an EU regulation, directive, a whole package. I mean, we are bound by it, and we can use all of the instruments, elements, flexibilities that are there. Would we want to have more flexibility? Yes, we would. Would we want to have more EU funds towards meeting our climate objectives in Poland? Yes, we would. Are we happy with what is there? I think reasonably, because we have achieved a lot over the years. So maybe that's where I will stop at the moment before coming back to the table as a regular member state that fights, as every other one, for its interest in the European Union.
Thank you. Christian, you want to add something on climate?
No, I think what's said, the last point is that this is law. And that it bites, that's the meaning.
Any other questions? Yeah, here we have a question in the front, please.
Hi. I'm surprised you say that you want more competitiveness, which is great. Europe needs that. You want lower energy prices, and then you're, with a straight face is saying, and you want more green, which obviously is led the other way. Denmark is one of the leading energy cost prices in Europe. It's not like you're showing off that this is going to be cheaper. It's very obvious that it's going to be more expensive. Your point was exactly that it bites, that it actually hurts. That's what it's meant to do. So I don't understand. I get that politicians all the time promise stuff that doesn't fit. But why would you promise both higher competitiveness, lower energy prices, and then something that's actually going to deliver higher energy prices?
I think I can keep a very straight face on that point, because I truly believe that it's possible to advance the green agenda and to earn a lot of money at the same time. And I truly believe that energy prices would go down if we had more green energy sources available. So the more offshore wind, I hope you find my face straight enough, because it's honest. And the more offshore wind we have, the better. And yeah, so that is a true belief, and I really hope that others will do the same and do their best to build out as many sources of energy as possible. We really need it, and make it as green as possible. And we are very happy with Danish companies, etc., to go into a dialogue on how that is actually possible, and has been done for quite a few years, and the expertise means that we actually have the possibility to do it quite at a cost efficient, at a good cost, not too high cost, and also in great amounts and quite quickly, because there are other energy sources that take quite a long time to build out. So yes.
Thank you. Any last question from the audience? No last question. And Christina has to run, so we have 1 minute and we will wrap it up. And we will wrap it up by thanking the Polish Presidency for a great job, which have really shown results, particularly in the security area, but also in many others, as we have heard. And wish the best of luck to the Danish Presidency with all the challenges that we have ahead. And we know, because that I think we can say almost with certainty, that there will be lots of uncertainties that you will face and that will come in from the left and right that you will have to deal with. So, but you have some friends with you, so I'm sure that it will be fine. Christina, you wanted to say a last word?
I don't know if it's the last, but I would love to just end on a positive note in terms of how popular the EU is and in our populations. And I noticed how, for example, in Sweden, I think the support is 71% in the population in terms of if you measure trust in EU institutions. In Denmark, it's also at the same level, 74%. And I think that's quite good and very heartwarming nowadays, in a time where we really need to stand together.
Absolutely. Carolina?
I just wanted to say at the very end to you that have spent your time with us here, that it is very unique that we have presidencies that, consecutive presidencies from Poland to Denmark, here in Sweden, that understand the region, that understand the Baltic Sea region, our perception of threats, our joint interest, our differences, because we do differ in some aspects, and that we can install this thinking into the European Union, where colleagues have different interests and different priorities because of their geography, because of their history, because of their different energy mixes. So I think it's a unique opportunity, and we in Poland are very happy that the entire 2025 will make colleagues in the European Union and the European Union aware of where we come from, of the needs and necessities and priorities for our region. This is something very unique, and we're very happy to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A big applause. Thank you, ambassadors, Christina and Carolina. Thank you, Christian. And thank you to the audience. And I wish you all a nice evening. And see you tomorrow, because we're here all day tomorrow with lots of interesting seminars on different EU policies to just come by. Bye.